I don't know whether you have these problems, but I'm having a week filled with difficulty with um, bureaucracy. And it started at the beginning of the week with a letter that I received from my local council, which told me there was a parking change in my road, and if I wanted to question it, or indeed to see the plans, I had to go to such and such a site. So I went to such and such a site, and it didn't exist. I persisted because I'm not going to give up, and about 20 minutes later, I eventually found the site under a slightly different name. And then I went through the site to find the relevant map, and I pressed on my road, and I actually got a PDF for an entirely different road. Now, the problem here is that I was only given, well, the letter had arrived late, so I was only given until the middle of next week to make any objection to the plans which are being proposed, which are absurd. And it seems to me extraordinary that the council should make these two monumental mistakes in a letter that arrives late, and for a proposal which seems slightly pointless. And so there was a telephone number on this letter for the man in charge of this particular part of the council. So I called and I couldn't get through. And then I spoke to a neighbour and told her the same issue, and she said, oh, well, she'd been trying for a whole week and couldn't get through. So what is the point? And finally, the local councillor came round. In fact, I rang up the council to find out who my councillor was. They suggested it was somebody else. He didn't reply to me, obviously. But the local councillor did come round and reassured me that this was all quite normal, and that he was going to have a word with the man in charge of this particular issue, and he thought it wouldn't go anywhere. So there we are. And meanwhile, I was trying to report my passport lost or stolen. I don't really know what, but I think I left it in a bank. And the bank, of course, has no recollection. And very difficult to report your passport stolen and to get another one. So when you report your passport stolen, if you have any questions about your passport and what happened to it, we'll call you. Well, if we have any questions, we're told. If we have any questions about your passport and what happened to it, we'll call you in the next 24 hours. If we don't speak to you, we will try twice more. The call will come from an 0300 phone number. Well, not entirely. So I got the call, and it came from a number which, let me find it, because this is extraordinary. It came from a number 01753 204 982. And the questions were extraordinary. And I thought some of them were quite invasive, really, and asking me for my address 10 years ago. And, I'd have to look that up. Anyway, so instead of being told, instead of finding that we will cancel your passport and send you a reference number using the details provided. But no, that's not going to happen either. I'm being sent a letter with a form attached, which I have to fill out and send back, and then I may eventually get approved with a reference number using the details, which I can then use to get a new passport, which will take 10 weeks. It is extraordinarily convoluted. But what I find so extraordinary is that the council and the Home Office produce bureaucratic instructions which are totally false. Now, the council I can understand, because the council is run by part-time twits, I presume. But surely the Home Office is run by Suella Braverman. I mean, the mind boggles, doesn't it? And then you wonder why she has problems with small boats, why she has problems with tents, why she has problems with the police, because she can't actually ensure that the correct information is on the documentation. And that should be the first thing that any bureaucrat does. And the Home Office is surely, like actually the council, all about bureaucracy. And if we get bureaucracy wrong, we find we get into trouble. We find we have a problem. But when the council or the Home Office... Anyway, I rang this number. I rang the number 07 whatever it was, and it said that it was some sort of outsourced number. So I then rang the Home Office passport number, and I eventually got transferred to somebody in the passport office, and they said, "Oh yes, we know about this number. This is the routine number, and we know that there's been lots of complaints about this." Well, if there's been lots of complaints, why don't you change it? Why don't you sort out the information on your gov.uk site? Because that's where you tell everybody to go. That's where all the information is supposed to be. If it's not correct, how can we trust it?